today's podcast, we're going to be talking about another beer that is from a brewery that we tasted last week. Not to sound like we're playing favorites over here, but they do produce a lot of great beers, and today's no different. We're also going to be talking about another Schenectady brewery that we did not talk about last week, and one of their beers that we're going to test today. We also want to tackle the subject of the COVID pandemic and its effect on bars. That's coming up in our next podcast number 2 of the Capital Brew Podcast.
The Capital Brew Podcast with 20 North Dave and Nick Lee. What's brewing in the 518?
All right, Dave, this is episode number 2. We're here at 20 North Broadway, which, by the way, don't let me leave today without ordering some food. My girlfriend's going to kill me. I got to get a bruised almond burger and some wings, some famous award-winning wings.
That's the problem with you coming down here and her knowing it. You know she's going to make you bring something.
Yeah,
we got to make up a story about going someplace else.
Yeah, next week we're having this podcast at a brewery or something.
I bet you they'd let us do that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, we could definitely broadcast. Let's start with a beer.
All right, which one do you want to go first with?
We're going to go ahead and we're going to keep it rolling with Wolf's Hollow.
Okay.
That's one of the beers that we're having today. What can you tell me about today's Wolf's Hollow choice?
I believe the name of it is One Bag Short.
One Bag Short, like me.
Yeah, yep. And
or several.
It is an English IPA, which when you try it and see it, the IPA name is misleading for those of us today that are now knowledgeable with today's IPAs. But this is actually a throwback to a British IPA that they drank very similar, like I said before, similar to a bitters.
Yeah.
Where when you taste it, it doesn't taste like so hoppy and citrusy in your face.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like a real pale ale.
Yeah.
With a little extra hops.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it, it's very dark. Most people today see IPAs and they think light. This beer, I would liken it to an amber ale, the color. And the taste is very, very different from what people think of as IPAs today. I don't know. What did you think?
The beer is delicious. It's great. Like I said, it's got a lot of flavor. It isn't your tradition. It's not flat like your traditional English ales, but it's got that traditional flavor. I really enjoyed it.
Now, in particular, I like ales, like those type of beer. So for me, of course, it's refreshing change, actually, which it's really not a change. It's an original English ale from the direction that most brewers have gone today. It's almost like they're trying to out hop each other. It gets so much so that some of the beers are almost that's all you really taste.
That's why they got the scale now on the side of the beers, right?
The IBUs, the bitterness units.
Yeah.
But even so, I don't know that they are. Those are just they're not really a unit of taste so much.
No.
And I'm not sure that it reflects hoppiness, even though I know a lot of people liken hoppiness to bitterness.
Yeah.
I don't know that necessarily like the high IBUs would also translate to super
It depends
hoppy.
on the hops, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing when I said when people are trying to out-hop each other, it's not so much how much they put in, it's trying to find that unique, different strain, or I don't know what term you would use, of hop.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next beer. Our next beer is a local favorite brewery.
Mad Jack Brewing Company.
Yeah, Mad Jack, right at...
Yep, they started over at Pinhead Susan's. Jesus, that was 20 years ago now.
Really?
Yeah. And they weren't brewing then. Then they ended up buying the old Van Dyke.
Yeah.
And turned the Van Dyke into a brewery. It's real. I mean, if
Oh,
anybody's
the
ever
family. I thought you were saying Mad Jack.
Yeah, the Mad Jack Brewing Company is owned by the
Same,
McDonald
the
family.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And if anybody's ever been in that building, it has huge historical significance.
It's supposed to be haunted.
Well, I've heard that.
I've
heard that.
I've done some videos on the haunted level there.
Yeah, as a matter of, we'll digress. Anyway, it's a not only has a lot of historical significance, but it's a beautiful building. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's very ornate. They did a great job, and behind the patio, they put in a huge, not huge, but a large, large
nice.
brewing capacity. And I'll tell you, they make some really good beers.
Yeah.
Their brewers have always been guys that were dedicated to, making a good beer. Something that they would think they would want to drink.
And with the names of the beers, the community, obviously
Yes.
they have Schenectady at heart.
At heart, they've all from this area, and to that brings today. That's why today's beer is called Pinhead Pilsner, and one of the reasons we picked it, obviously it's a local beer, but this time of year,
being so hot,
they do a lot of good beers, but a lot of beers like a porter or a stout or an ale are heavier. This time of year, you want something crisper and fresher,
sure.
and a pilsner, falls
refreshing.
right. Yes, falls right in falls right in that line.
especially theirs.
Yeah, and I agree. We were drinking a little bit of it today, as a refresher,
For sure.
and realized that how it has a really crisp flavor with a little bit of maybe a citrusy zest.
Yeah, for sure. It's got a zest to it.
And a nice bite.
Yeah.
Something that you're outside and it's hot that you kind of feel like you're getting a little bit of refreshment rather than.
It's so crisp and refreshing that it kind of reminded me on the way a cider, hard cider would bite and have that crisp to it.
Yes, very similar.
Without that flavor.
Yes.
It was a delicious beer, and I don't know what the alcohol content on that is, but I feel like I could drink those all day long.
Yes, it's pilsners generally are much lower as opposed to like an ale or especially an India Pale Ale, or like another thing they're trying to compete with how much alcohol content they can get in there. Two or three of those beers is like having a 6-pack.
All right, so one of the things I wanted to talk about this week is what the COVID pandemic. Or just basically what the COVID pandemic how it has affected the bar industry and the beer distribution.
Well, I can say both specifically us and any other restaurant locally, especially smaller ones. You thrive on your place being busy. When it's not not full capacity. I hate to say there's a thin line there, and if you don't have it at full or at good capacity, you're really not doing that great. Now, I will say this: having a kitchen in most bars was a benefit. I know a lot of restaurants were able to at least get by on to-goes and delivery. As a matter of fact. That's what we did. We ended up not only doing to-goes like we would do, but we ended up delivering.
Yeah, I've seen that.
We got with nobody in-house, it's just the kitchen operating, so you want to do as much as you can. And I will have to say this, our customers were, spectacular during that, coming out and making sure they ordered delivery, coming down and, getting food, maintaining a good relationship with us. And I got to say, I know this is kind of a sidebar, but Eric and I and everybody here really appreciate everybody's effort.
Yeah.
But that aside, you can't run on, your kitchen.
No.
If you're a bar,
Yeah.
For any sustained
And
length
still
of time.
be able to keep as many people working. I walked in today, and other than like maybe one, maybe two new faces, it seems like your normal crew that's normally here.
Yeah, and that's another thing. A lot of the crew would normally spend a lot of time at the bar, and now that we're past that point, now that we can have people dining, in and on, it's a boon for sure. It's gotten a lot of people back in action, back making some money and doing some stuff. A drawback, obviously, for other places we were fortunate, but other places that don't have a patio or outside, place for outside seating, that was really unfair to a lot of those places.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, now granted, what can you do? I know that a lot of cities made an attempt to, use sidewalks and streets in an effort to help those people, but there's only so much you can do when most of your restaurant is inside.
Yeah, for sure.
And now that we're at a point where they're letting us, use the outside and be inside, but at a limited basis. That's good. That's I'm able to employ more people. We're able to, make a little more money, but ultimately, The bar is really where a lot of your business is at. You know, and you're not going to be really successful unless you can open that up. And like they're letting us do like on a limited basis, but unfortunately, bars are designed to run at capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to operate with half your space. Then you're just what's that? What are you using that space for? So unfortunately, without us, us and others being able to run at full capacity, I don't think that it's sustainable in the long run. I hate to say it. And I realize, of course,
that was my next question: is if this does continue to go on much longer. I mean,
I don't know. There'd have to probably be some changes. When you orient your business in a certain direction, and that direction can't be followed based on a different set of rules than we used to have. You just can't make an immediate change. There's going to have to be like some fundamental, I would say, changes
for sure.
I haven't really, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what that would entail, but I mean, it wouldn't be something super simple, like and with restaurants, a lot of them operating on a very very thin line. They might not be able to survive.
For sure. Like we said, there's some of them haven't.
And some of them haven't. Some local places, some local staples.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna make it back. To being open completely. It's unfortunate. Places, like legendary places.
Yeah, that we grew up in.
I realize now that what a large percentage of restaurant and bar make up in the small business community. Like I'm not sure. I guess in a while we'll find out. Once this has maybe calmed down a little bit, find out. What can and can't be done.
For sure.
And then obviously make decisions based on that.
Obviously, the town where we came from, it was obviously a big GE town. GE kept this place afloat for so long, and then when they started to lay off and stop production, the city really started to hurt, and the businesses that came to the aid of Schenectady, the heart and soul of Schenectady was its food. It was his belly. The heart and soul was the belly of Schenectady that came and saved the city. So.
I will say this. I mean, it definitely has revitalized. I'm not sure about saving the city, but
true.
Like you, I grew up around here. I grew up in Glenville, so I'm old enough to have done shopping before malls. When downtown was your shopping district, and I certainly remember. I mean, almost everybody can probably say that grew up in this area that at least a father, uncle, mom has worked at GE. I mean, almost every single one of us knows someone either in our family
or
different close that certainly worked there. And when they did that, pull everybody out. I mean, the city was a skeleton of its former self, and I like to see that you were right. The restaurant business was a very big part of revitalizing the downtown.
Is a better word.
Bringing people in to say, okay, malls were great. You could shop all in one spot, but the downtown area is a beautiful area to see. You can park and you can go to from this parking lot here. You could probably go to a dozen restaurants or bars within 3 blocks.
Yeah, easily.
It's
and
amazing.
Good food.
Yeah, and you have a lot of choices, and like we've talked about a lot of great beers.
Yes.
I like to see
breweries.
I like to see bars back when I'd hate to be like back in my day, but when I was younger and I first started, you could almost guarantee that I could tell you 4 or 5 beers that's on every tap line. You're gonna have your Bud, your Coors Light, your Sam Adams, your Guinness, a couple others.
Labatt Blue.
Labatt Blue, exactly. I wanted to go there. Labatt Blue. You would guarantee they were on almost every single tap,
exactly.
every type of tap line. Now you go into any place and you might see, okay, you still got your Guinness and you still got your Coors Light, but everything else, completely different.
Yeah.
Of the 10 lines we have, you could go to next door over at Center Street and they've got at least 10. I bet you we only probably have 2, maybe the same line.
Yeah, and then go to Hunters.
Then go to Hunters. I mean, the Hunters you can get, my God, stuff that you very rarely see.
Beer Abbey, God rest your soul, another place that was awesome for the selections of beer.
It's unfortunate, but that's another question. The saturation of market, and you got, so many of the same style. Maybe you got the same beer, that same style of places. a given area can only really accommodate
Yeah.
a certain number of those
Well,
places.
I'm happy where we're at right now. I'm happy with the bars that we have.